This is Linux Inlaws, a podcast on free Libre open source software, broadcasting from the United Kingdom and Germany.
Welcome to Linux Inlaws, a season, I can't even remember, but it must be episode 36, Martin. What do you think?
Well, since we only had 2 seasons so far, this must be season 2.
Yes!
Unless we ever had a series to episode 99, which I have missed.
Yeah, but maybe this is season 2A or 1C or 1F or whatever. So
no,
just rerun or whatever.
That would contravene the rules to say.
I mean,
after 99 comes series 3.
Yeah, but I mean, Martin, this is one of the upsides.
It's like the year 2000 problem, isn't it?
Exactly. Since we don't have marketing
anymore,
this
automation again. Anyway,
since we don't have marketing anymore, they cannot really screw things up, right?
Yes, this is good.
Excellent. So, without further ado, let's focus. Oh, Martin, yes, and a very, very bold teaser. We do have Vladessa on later on. So, if you happen to fall asleep during the first half of the show,
we have to tell them, the listeners, what minute to tune into.
Exactly. So, why don't you set your alarm clock to about 30 minutes into the show, just in case, so that you're not missing out on vegan blood and all the rest of that. Ish. Anyway, and without further ado, in that case, Martin, what's tonight's subject?
Tonight's subject is open source in all things agriculture and farming.
Excellent, Martin. And as you have been living as a farmer for the last, 25 years? Why don't you take it away, Mr. Visser?
I think I would struggle to live as a farmer for the last 25 years because there's just no money in it.
At least you live in a very rural area compared to myself.
Yeah, I didn't used to live in a flat. Yes. So, I mean, well, clearly the UK is quite a big farming or country, since there's nothing else that they produce these days.
Very good.
But yes. So yeah, I mean, farming is also something that's about to be no longer very successful in the UK, since the current government has done away with sort of inheritance tax-free moving on of farms to your family. So, so there's a lot of farm protests going on at the moment. They're not quite the same as in France, but they protest in a different way.
I mean, just to paint the big picture,
nothing is on fire.
If farming is out the window in the UK, and the European ties have been really severed, the country is going to hit a brick wall in about 2 minutes.
No. All the food comes from lots of other places anyway. That's you go into any supermarket, stuff comes from South America and whatever.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And where does the money come from to buy that stuff? I wonder.
What do you mean?
I mean, the people must have money if they want to buy goods, no?
Well, food is one of these basic necessities.
Even that carries a price tag, no?
If people wouldn't be able to afford food, then they wouldn't be able to live, right? So that's,
but I mean, in that case,
that's why it's basic.
Well spotted, excellent. But you see, if people go to the supermarkets, they expect to pay for these goods, and the money must come from somewhere. I'm just wondering about the source of income, if you get my drift.
Well, Chris, as you know, some people have jobs, some people don't, and people that don't get it from the government instead.
So there are still jobs in the UK. That's good to know.
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know our level of unemployment. It's not that bad, I don't think, compared to other countries.
Back to the subject that had
yes.
Even further.
Yes. So for farming, you need some land, and then you got to decide: am I going to farm plants, as in vegetables or stuff like that, things to eat that aren't of the animal kingdom, or you go for or you grow your animals to do milk or meat and things like that.
Or both.
So I mean, those are the two kind of, or both. Yes, not very often, to be fair. Really, growing vegetables is easier because
Sorry, I meant actually milk and beef, for example.
Milk and beef, no, they don't go together because milk comes from a cow and beef is from the male variety. That doesn't work.
Okay.
Because milk.
You don't slaughter cows? Okay, I didn't know.
No, because they make milk, don't they? This is the whole point.
When they stop making milk.
Well, then they have another baby and then they make more milk. That's how it works.
Yeah, but I mean, at some stage they will reach menopause. No,
biology. Did you do biology?
I mean, Martin, if a cow reaches menopause, I mean, you normally do away with that, no?
Well, yeah, then they go into cat food and stuff like that. Whatever. Yeah.
Okay, you don't put them onto a plate.
No,
not all of it, just pieces and bits and whatever.
As there is a simple rule with meats. Generally, the younger the animal is, the tastier the meat is, and less tough and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Excellent. So anyway. You certainly heard it now here first. That actually Martin is quite the opposite of a vegan.
Yes, you could say that. I do eat meat.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that, kids.
However, I do drink plant-based milk.
You don't drink real milk anymore, no?
No.
Okay. Because somebody else told you to, or do you have lactose intolerance?
No, it's just healthier and
But it tastes like shit.
You don't need. No, it doesn't. No.
I tried almond-based milk once, and that was awful.
Yes, it's the wrong one. Cashew milk is the one to go for.
Cashew.
Mm.
Okay, and what about all these innocent cashews? Are they going to die or something?
Well, I guess there may be some impact on the monkey population if they have less cashews to eat, but I don't use that many cashews personally.
So if all of these monkeys are starved to death, now we know the reason why that is.
Well, the good news is that plants are easy to grow, so yeah.
But cashews aren't. I mean, they take a long time to develop and ripen and whatever.
Well, they don't actually grow in the UK, so I can't help you with that one, I'm afraid.
No. Exactly. So they have to import it. That's even more expensive. And people have to basically ship them and stuff. So that isn't exactly environmentally friendly. I mean, if you take a look at the carbon footprint, I suppose.
Well, but then if you compare it to the carbon footprint of a cow, then you might be onto a winner. But I haven't.
Okay.
I don't have the figures, but I can imagine that.
Fair enough.
There is. I mean, in the Netherlands, for example, there is a whole debate going on about the numbers of cows and that they produce too much methane and all that kind of stuff.
Such a tiny country,
etc. Indeed, yes. Well, they haven't got anything else to do in the Netherlands, so they have to start looking at everything and considering if it's right and we have too many farmers and we don't have enough electricity and all that kind of stuff. So.
But I mean, the good news is basically it's still a European country, so if that goes bust, the EU can certainly chip in and help it and help out.
Well, Germany generally, but yes.
Or France or whatever, exactly.
It tends to be Germany that bails out everybody.
But I mean, hang on, Martin. Speaking of agriculture here, as we all know, Netherlands has a very fine tradition of growing certain wheat, no? And I mean that now in the literal sense.
Well, yes, but that's not on an industrial scale, right? That's
I can very much sure that this is the case. I mean, you see, when I was, I used to work quite a lot actually in Amsterdam, and whenever I rode from Amsterdam city center down to Schiphol, where the data centers were, along that suburban rail trail, there were a couple of houses, and never mind the season.
Quite a few houses, yeah.
Exactly. Never mind the season. Quite a few of them actually didn't have any water or snow on them.
Yeah, well, it's as you know, we grow a lot of bulbs and flowers in Holland, and they need a lot of light and warmth. So.
Especially the leaf variety with a certain compound that needs a lot of heat.
Yes. Well, this is where the open source angle comes back in, because clearly you want to optimize this and use your sensor-based data analysis to not spend too much money on this. Anyway, going back to
spill the beans now. So how do you go proper wheat bean from the Netherlands? You heard it here first.
Anyway, we need to talk about open source and
Venturing
John Deere.
back to much safer
John Deere
ground.
and
Yes.
Massey Ferguson, Ford.
So what's the crack with John Deere?
Well, like many, let's say, manufacturers of agricultural devices and even also automotive devices, they like to lock things down so that when you need your tractor servicing or repairing, you have to go to your authorized John Deere repairer, and they use their software to do everything, do the repairs and do the coding, whatever and stuff like that needs to happen to get your tractor back to work. However, as farmers used to do, they take a piece of machinery and whatever's broken, they fix themselves, because generally farmers have everything, including things like barns and ramps and welding equipment and all this kind of stuff and wrenches to fix their own stuff. However, with John Deere, that was all impossible. Well, not just with John Deere, right? Every device these days or car is kind of locked down where you can't do anything yourself because of everything is controlled by software that stops you from doing things yourself.
I mean, it's also a margin game, right? Because as we all know, the margins in the agriculture business are wafer thin.
Oh, yes.
In terms of you don't, I mean, unless you really scale it up, as in if you happen to own half of Britain, and with regards to land ownership, and if you're a farmer, then fair play to you.
Yeah.
But the medium-sized farmers simply don't have the cash to afford these really sky-high prices that the likes of John Deere charge and all the rest of them charge, basically, for basic maintenance.
Indeed. Well, also they're too busy running their farming business, so they can't really take their tractor to the repair place and leave it there for a couple of weeks for them to sort it out.
Yep.
It needs to work. So, but yes, indeed. So going back to John Deere, there was a famous case about this. Would you like to tell the listeners?
Didn't we have them on the show? Right?
No, we tried.
Maybe we tried, but so people, the right to repair people, if you're listening, please get in touch because we want to have you on the show.
Anyway, do tell.
The right to repair is a movement basically that exactly addresses that topic, meaning if you buy a John Deere or otherwise lockdown vehicle, you have the right to do any maintenance yourself. In contrast to taking it to the dealership or some other place authorized by John Deere or some other manufacturer, who charge you through the nose in terms of getting things fixed. So the idea is basically, if you own a piece of equipment, you have the right to repair it, to modify it, and all the rest of it, which is exactly against the grain of the likes of John Deere and Friends. Links, of course, will be in the show notes.
Yeah, but not to be. I mean, what I don't know is why John Deere was specifically picked out for this, but it's not the only one, right?
Because they're the worst, I think.
They're all doing it, really?
Yeah, but A, they're the first to do this, and B, given their prevalence in the US and other countries, with regard to market share.
Yes, it's an American.
Exactly. Yes. And they're all over the place, and needless to say, with the civil rights movement and with the EFF and all the rest of them, need to say it was a little bit against the grain of the American farmer community, so they took action, essentially. And they won, if I'm not completely mistaken. So John Deere had to open up their ecosystem, and the competition had to follow suit. As I said, the rest was in the show notes.
Yeah,
and that was a big deal.
That is a big deal, indeed. Yeah.
But I mean, they have their fair share of they have their fair market share in the UK as well. No, same as in Germany. I mean, there are a couple of big ones, and John Deere is one of them.
Yeah,
and they're not the cheapest. Yeah. No.
Oh no! I mean, like any if you look at the evolution of the tractor, it is following a similar pattern as with cars, where everything is getting bigger and more expensive and more let's say, electronically controlled. No, your average. Well, I mean, there's a difference between especially in the US, right? In the US, let's say the farm sizes are not big, the same as in Australia. They have, millions of acres of, so therefore they need big machines as well to get it done quicker. Whereas in the UK, they have lots of piddly little fields with hedges in between and walls. So then smaller tractors work better. Yeah.
Yes. So it's not really a surprise, actually, that open source in the farming community has been, I wouldn't say at the very top of the list, but rather it has grown in popularity, not just since the John Deere case, more rapidly in the past.
Yeah. I mean, but also the whole kind of. Especially the bigger farms, they are more and more using technology as well, right? For their to make their their profitability or their non-loss making more efficient. So it's things like the whole. The crop planting and tracking things with GPS of the efficiency of how your machines work and temperatures of expected temperatures. Weather is obviously very dependent for farmers and stuff like that. And soil analysis is also far more prevalent these days to make it. Whereas in the past, people just we have wheat one year, we'll grow something else this year, but. Nowadays, soil is sampled to see what is actually missing from it and what's best thing to grow on it and so on to make it. Because the other thing is all the fertilizers are no longer that friendly to the environment and also expensive. So it's going the right way. But a lot of technology is moving into that field, which obviously benefits the big farmers, but not the little ones because they can't afford it.
Plus the climate change, I mean, does a further thing to the whole scenery, I'm doomed to say, because I mean, you cannot rely on these ancient weather patterns anymore. And many of these, in Germany, they're called Bauernregeln, as in farmers' rules, but you can read you can't really translate them into English, right? Right? I mean, there's a set of rules that used to apply to certain regions within Germany, and weather prediction was pretty good if you went by these rules.
Seasonal, right?
Exactly. But that's no longer.
Indeed.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So to make the most of your soil, of your crop, whatever, you have to down to a fine art if you want to maximize your profit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to go out of business, I might add.
Well, that's the bigger, the main driver these days for farmers. It's
and now it's probably the time to mention some of the more successful projects, maybe.
Okay.
Not.
Well,
maybe let's start with something called the ISO bus. It's also known as ISO 11783. It goes back, I think, at least 20 years. The idea was actually. And for those of you who manufacture cars or are involved in the manufacturing process of cars, the CAN bus is probably... Yes, exactly. It's probably known.
The ISO, what's his name? Is this just the protocol over the CAN bus, isn't it? One of the protocols.
I mean, CAN goes from layer 1 right up to layer 3 or 4 or something like that. Yes. So, I mean, it does include software and hardware. And the idea behind ISO bus and also affectionately known as 11738 is actually to put this into a more agricultural environment in terms of standardize pretty much comparable to cars, the way components talk to each other on tractors, harvesters, and all the rest of them. With the idea, of course, to introduce more and more automation into said vehicles. So that you actually have a harvester not being operated by a human, but rather by a machine that captures GPS tracking signals in terms of where it is, knows the shape of the field, and then ideally does the rest itself pretty much without ideally without any human intervention or with human intervention as minimal as possible. That's the overall idea. And funny enough, actually, I was involved in the project quite a couple of years back where we actually tried this. We used an open source software called AG Open GPS. And the idea was, okay, we have this standardized bus in place, and we have this open source software, and then we have a little gadget that actually steers the vehicle. Why not see if it works? Of course, it didn't. I mean, it was, we checked the manual and it was supposed to work. But then after, naively, and when I say we, I should probably clarify what I'm talking about. Somebody I know, I'm talking at least 5 to 7 years back now. Somebody I know actually up in northern Germany had this then kind of grand idea of building a prototype that he could employ on his local farm to do exactly that sort of thing, as in having a tractor do much of the work autonomously rather than doing it himself. Because in addition to some land, he was also, or he still is, he's also operating a pig growing business. And
what?
A pig growing business.
Pig?
Yes.
Yes, pigs.
As in, yes, as in, exactly. Swines, as in beef. Exactly. Given the fact that he's pretty much running the shop by himself without many helping hands because of, as we already kind of touched upon, margin aspects. Yes, bandwidth was in short supply, as you can imagine. So that's the reason basically why I came up with this idea of, okay, let's build a prototype, see how it works. We used, I think, a Class tractor, which is a local German brand. He also had a John Deere and a Ferguson, which is, I think, British, if I'm not completely mistaken. According to the manuals, they should have all been working with regards to this isobus thing, but none of them did actually. So we literally tried to take it apart and ended up with buying additional kit, and I think we took the Class as the first guinea pig, and what that friend of mine did was actually he soldiered a steering gadget to the steering wheel, not soldered, but kind of hooked a steering gadget up to the steering wheel, instead of the isobus basically taking these commands as it was supposed to do. So the idea behind the isobus, and correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much like a CAN bus in a car, is basically that detects commands and then translates this into something that the engine, the steering system, all the rest of it can understand. So autonomous driving shouldn't be, or steering actually rather, shouldn't be too far off the map. Yeah. But then it didn't work. We couldn't get it to work at all. So we had to resort to some mechanical translation.
Yeah, because I mean,
the whole thing.
This is where either you have, I don't know if you heard of brake-by-wire, but there's also steering-by-wire, obviously, which means that you no longer have a steering wheel connected to the wheels, but it's just to an electric motor or electric sensor that measures the steering angle and then has a motor on the actual steering rack to turn the wheels. So there is no physical connection anymore between the. So if it's done by electronics, then yes, you can put an input into the tractor or car, whatever it is, to steer it. But if it's mechanical, then.
Yeah. That was the understanding of how this Class thing would work.
Oh, it's quite a modern one. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I've been talking about 7 years back, and isobus goes back about at least 20 years. According to the spec, the Class was supposed to work exactly that way.
There was a steering, okay.
But it didn't. But maybe there was a license glitch, and your man didn't pay the full option racket. No, jokes aside, we triple checked the license for exactly that reason. And we also tried it with the John Deere, and the John Deere certainly was, because my friend basically paid all of the options that came with the John Deere, but still, again, it wasn't able to do the whole thing. And that's exactly where we had to resort to kind of crying or giving up on the whole thing, or actually putting a mechanical interface into play because we couldn't get it. We couldn't get it to work in the first place, which was rather disappointing. At the end of the day, we got it up and running with a lot of additional hardware that we had to buy. And again, that of course required a lot of tinkering because of the drivers you had to install and all the rest of it. Plus the fact that, and again, this is somewhat disappointing, much of the hardware actually in the agriculture sector, and I'm talking about the Windows tablet that you use to kind of train the tractor with and kind of control it from a remote perspective and all the rest of it, actually required Windows. It didn't run an open source operating system. I later found out actually that there is a Qt port of AG OpenGPS, but at that stage, my friend had almost given up. So it was a little disappointing, all right.
Yeah, no, not surprising. But yeah, as you, I mean, you experimented with open source, but all these tractor manufacturers have all these systems in their modern tractors nowadays. But obviously, you're going to pay licenses and subscriptions to use them, I'm sure.
You're right. It reminds me a little bit about, and I'm painting a very black and white picture now. It reminds me a little bit about cars. I mean, cars have a certain set of specifications. I mean, in normal countries, for example, the steering wheel is on the left-hand side of the car, whereas in other countries it's not. But still, there is a steering wheel. And normally you have 4 tires that adhere to specifications with regards to diameter, pressure, and all the rest of it. So, and you can be dead sure that the indicator works as expected. It didn't in that case.
Say again. So, what do you mean? Sorry.
In terms of the ICANN specification, clearly said.
Okay.
The user's manuals that we checked of both tractors said, yes, here's the way to do it. But then even after putting calls in with the support lines of that manufacturers, it didn't work at all. And as a matter of fact, we were given the runaround, and people did try to pin it on the open source angle. No surprises there. But even after we clarified that this is certainly not the case, both manufacturers were reluctant actually to kind of take a look at the whole thing. So that's the reason actually why we ended up having to rig up the whole thing with a mechanical interface.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but then you did make it work, I guess, with
eventually, yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a smooth sailing. I mean, do you have any similar experiences up in the UK? Where people try to do that sort of thing and failed, maybe didn't?
No, as I said, in the UK, there aren't that many big farms, right? So, and also, if you have a tractor, you will run and repair that for a long time. It's so. The people with the new tractors are the contractors that do jobs for other people. So your farmer yourself, he can't afford a £100,000 tractor or whatever it is, 150, I don't know, because he already has an old tractor that does tractoring, and so he doesn't going to spend £100,000 on a new tractor that does the same thing just with more electronics, which he can't repair.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of the new gadgets is being brought in by contractors in the UK? Okay, I didn't know that.
No, so yeah. I mean, you can do farming a lot of different ways, right? It's traditionally it's your parents are farmers, so one of the children takes over the farm, fine, and then they end up with all the old machinery, and if it finally dies at some point, they buy something new if they have to. But then you've also got people with a lot of money that buy a farm and then say, oh yeah, you guys do my farm management, do my field plowing for me and all that kind of stuff. And that's why the contractors come in, because normally at busy times at harvesting, everybody needs stuff doing. So that's where you don't have the spare capacity, and you don't have your massive tractor to plow your field in 1 hour or harvest your field in 1 hour, and especially those combine harvesters as well, right? They are even more expensive. So farmers don't typically own them. They get a specialist guy who does harvesting in to harvest their field for them.
I mean, this famous TV show comes to mind called Clarkson Farm.
Indeed.
Clarkson's Farm. Exactly about a city dweller doing exactly that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had this as one of the boxes, no?
Yes.
At some stage. Twice, I think.
Twice.
So, Mr. Clarkson, if you're listening, the email address is sponsor@linuxinlaws.eu.
Yeah.
In case if you want to have your show mentioned more and more on something called Linux Inlaws.
Yes. But one thing you can learn from that is that so he's starting out farming with a lot of money, and at the end of the day, he makes £0 on it because of weather and costs and all that kind of stuff. And
that reminds me of a certain Branson quote. In terms of how to become a millionaire quick. You must be a billionaire and happen to own one or two airlines. and you're a millionaire in no time.
Start an airline, yes. There is a certain pattern there, isn't there?
Indeed.
Mind you, some airlines go bust as well recently.
Very true, yes. So people, if you want to know how to become a millionaire, you heard it first. As in quick.
Yes. Yeah.
Before we close the show off, because as we already touched on, there's still Vanessa in the wings.
Yes.
We should probably mention one or two other FLOSS projects after berating the experiences of Chris a couple of years back. There are a couple of open source projects. I came across them in the context of the previous project that I explained. They are called Light Farm, Farm OS, and something else, right? The Open AG Toolkit, exactly, the Open Agriculture Toolkit. It's tricky.
Yeah.
The idea behind these just 3 examples is actually to help you with running your farm. The thing is that quite a few...
Well, this is generally done through Excel, to be honest. But... Anyway, carry on. Yeah.
Fair enough. Or LibreOffice for that.
Well, no, that would be too...
Mr. Clarkson did use Excel a lot, yes. I know. No, the idea is basically to give you a hand with regards to locate stones in a field, to locate your essence, to locate your assets in certain locations, and all the rest of it. Some of them are okay. Some of them, I'm almost tempted to say, are dead. I mean, the Open AG Toolkit probably being the best example. The last commit, last time I checked, that was a week or 2 ago. The last commit was 2 years ago. And that was the freshest commit on GitHub. I mean, the situation looks a little bit bleak, to be honest with you. I don't know.
It's not surprising, though, is it really? Well, I mean, first of all, they're not educated in this field, the farmers, and second of all, they don't have the time to, develop these things. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I reckon that, if you happen to own a couple of farms in the US where land is cheap because there's plenty of it, I reckon that sort of technology does come in handy, even beyond your John Deere.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, but if I probably farming on that scale, you need something that works quite well.
I mean, some of these projects, farmers especially, comes to mind. I mean, Light Farm is clearly aimed at, and of course, links will in the show notes.
Yeah.
Some of the projects are aimed at, I'm almost tempted to say hobby farmers with regards to if you have a couple of acres, that's okay. But if you are looking at large ones, as a couple of 100 acres, they probably don't, or 1,000 even, they probably don't scale up to the requirements. Especially if you happen to live in Colorado or some other federal state, or Arizona, where, as I've experienced actually when I was kind of traveling there, where your farm actually takes a couple of days to drive around because it's so huge.
Yeah, so your average farm size in the UK is 82 acres, whereas in the US...
You can do that between breakfast and the pub, no?
You
certainly won't get away with that in the US.
It's 400 and something, so it's kind of double.
I mean, I came across
probably Canada. Actually, that's got the bigger farms, and Australia.
I came across a few people in the US
Canada,
that bought little planes for exactly that reason. Because driving was just
I mean, Australia is well known for its huge farms, for example. Yeah. Yes, the average farm in Australia is 4,000 hectares, not just in acres.
So Australians and Americans, if you want to scale down, you will certainly want to consider getting a British passport just in case.
Yeah. You can leave your plane at home as well. You don't need or your helicopter. You can walk around it.
Exactly. It would probably save on the petrol costs. Exactly.
Well, there you go. That's a good solution. Just send more people to farm in Australia, make the farm smaller.
And with that, I reckon it's certainly time. It's almost time for Vladessa now.
It is time for Vladessa, yes.
Martin, we do have a sketch as in the dark side, don't we?
We do. I got my garlic ready as well. So
excellent. And as a special guest, we do have Vladessa on tonight, who hasn't been a rare guest as of recent on the show. So without further ado, and of course, this is somewhat related to the dark side, but rather than Vladessa looking for help, we decided to bring her on the show live, as in person, to talk about the last 500 and maybe 700 years, as in how it all started, and what her path toward domination eventually will be.
Indeed, yes.
Dear listeners, don't worry, you don't have to sign NDAs, because what we're going to talk about is almost publicly available. And with that, without further ado, let's get Vladessa on the show. Vladessa, welcome.
It's a pleasure, always a delight to descend into the shadows with you.
Perfect. It sounds like you are actually in a coffin.
More like a cathedral.
Is it nighttime?
It is nighttime.
It is always nighttime around me.
That's why she's awake.
So you're still in Transylvania, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Excellent. So for the two people in the audience who do not know what we're talking about, Vladessa, why don't you give us the rundown of what happened since it all started, and details maybe in the show notes with regards to the first episode, basically, where Vladessa, or Natasha, as she was then known, played a very important part of the unionization of the workforce of a certain Transylvanian count. So what happened after these events? To cut a long story short, as I said, details maybe the show notes. Just a very short recap. The count in question had to deal with a certain unionization of his workforce, which, of course, created a little bit of a spot of bother, so to speak. And Natasha, as Vladessa was then known, played a certain part in this.
Oh yes, that's the beginning. Natasha, little girl, she was born in a little village, a very cold village, very gloomy. The winters were really, really terrible, and some people didn't like it. They were a little bit unhappy. So some of the peasants wanted to unionize. That's how my rise started, actually. In the local peasants' union, I organized the labor force, negotiated better night shift conditions, and implemented some FANG safety regulations. And from there, it was only a matter of time before I was Countess Vladessa.
Oh, before you go on, just for the people who are interested in tourism, where was this village, or what was it called? Sorry, where you grew up.
Now, this is the point, dear listeners, where you do have to sign an NDA.
Just for those who want to do some kind of vampire pilgrimage.
It's called Stohemo.
And where's that? For the people listening,
why is that?
Pennsylvania, isn't it? Yeah.
But Pennsylvania is a big place, no?
I don't know why is that. It's just what the village is called.
But this doesn't into protection or something, does it?
No, it is just a village in Transylvania. No real story there.
So what happened after you unionized that workforce and threw over the count?
I married him.
You what? You
Yeah.
married him?
I married him, and that's how I became a countess. He was very rich, and working with the union, it's fine, but there is no money in that. So, and I need power.
Are you serious? You married the guy?
I did. He was handsome, very pale.
So, given the fact that you actually worked against him when unionizing the workforce, I mean, that must have been tricky or a difficult time, no?
Well, yes, but that's how you see how people fight, how they are strong, and that is interesting. And for women, even for a little bit of a vampire women, that is interesting.
Going back to the vampire aspect, given the fact that vampires don't die, Vladessa, how did he die? Did you kill him?
I have to say, I considered it quite a few times.
I mean, it's hard to kill a vampire, no?
Oh, it is, but it's not that hard when you are a vampire.
Is it silver bullets or wooden stakes? I can't remember.
So but before we go down that route, how did he turn you?
Quite useful. Human information there.
We come to the practical advice in a second, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, carry on.
Okay, how did you become a vampire being Natasha? Did he turn you?
Yes, he did.
Care to spill the details?
You know how that goes.
I don't actually, as a matter of fact.
Oh, no television in your room.
What's television?
Clearly, yes.
It's okay. I will send you one. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I've read the books, but the books are, of course, misleading. But apparently, if current literature is anything to go by, there's a little bit of romance involved in terms of red roses, maybe wine, a beautiful evening, and then the bite. Is that how it went?
Are you interested in my love life?
Absolutely.
Okay, if you insist that much, let's say it's for the listeners. Okay, for the listeners, I'll do it. And it's also nice to remember some old stories like that every now and then.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you have the main story is more or less that. There was a bite in the neck, you know how it goes, but there wasn't a lot of a romance, to be honest. It was a cold village and people were unhappy, and there wasn't roses, In winter in Transylvania, you can't really find red roses and things like that.
So, sex toys maybe?
What?
Sex toys? As in dildos and stuff?
That's very interesting. I wonder why you think that.
If there are no red roses, I wonder basically how he seduced you eventually. I mean, there must be some.
Just a character. Very eloquent. Very intelligent.
Old school. Excellent.
Exactly. Yes.
Any little Vlads on the horizon? Or on the past horizon?
Well, the past horizon, exactly, because the guys really did, yes. Right? So.
No, our Vlads are not that little anymore.
I mean, you don't bear vampires, right? Vampires are turned in terms of people become vampires through a certain procedure, if I'm not completely mistaken, Martin.
I don't know. There was some story about them mating with werewolves, and they made.
Yeah, but I mean, vampires don't procreate, do they?
Some offspring, yeah. Maybe not on their own, no, but for werewolves, apparently that works. I don't know if you believe.
Vampires and werewolves, they explode before they can mate. No, seriously, they do. Okay, let's
yes, moving on.
That touchy area, moving on, exactly. So the guy said, okay, so what happened then? Apparently, he ruled some serious patch of land called Transylvania, and also had the beginnings of a wholesale blood industry on the horizon, maybe? Back in the day?
Yes, back in the day, but it was only the beginning. He had some ideas. It was I who started the business and made it where it is today.
Care to spill the beans?
Maybe not all of them, but I can try some.
Teaser!
Yeah, of course. We started with the blood distribution business, first for our own village. Then we had a big problem with blood supply, so we had to think bigger, out of the box. And then we have to ration our blood supply, which made me think that how to have a better distribution and where to find supply. And then from there, trying to cut cost, for the big demand, we even invented a new kind of blood, vegan blood.
Vegan? When was that? As in, what century?
Oh, I don't know. All the centuries are years all the same to me now.
True vampire.
Who remembers that? So, yes.
So how did
I leveraged my... Sorry, you go ahead.
How did you come up with the recipe? I mean, blood and vegan do not gel easily, do they?
Well, that's what you think, but we have our laboratory that has very good scientists. Of course, they're all turned, but yes, it is my brainchild. It's we do genetically modify. I can reveal some, okay?
Please.
Yeah, so yes, we genetically modified carnivorous plants. We re-engineered them a little bit for sustainable, let's call it cruelty-free blood. And it's very good because it's rich in iron, it's ethically sourced, and it has just a hint of both.
Sustainability in the 1200s? Are you serious?
Well, of course. Sustainability was all there was in the 1200s. But it's important now, don't you think? We did it before everyone else.
So people heard it first. Vladessa actually invented sustainability in the wholesale blood business about almost 1,000 years ago.
Exactly.
Sounds like a great plan. However, you mentioned the supply, right? Hasn't the world population grown quite exponentially over the last few centuries? Is that not a good thing for you?
It is a good thing. Luckily, we also have much more CO2 in the air to have more plants, so then to extract blood from them for my carnivorous plants. So somehow it kind of works. And there is also...
Our plants. Nice. Yeah.
Exactly, carnivore plants.
Sweet. There was an episode, right, where you kind of talked about this back in the day. Details maybe in the show note, listeners. But do go on, Vladessa. What is important, though, I mean, if the world population grows as it has been growing for the last 2,000 years, how did you scale that business?
How am I going to scale the business? Well, the business... We have to have some plans. Like, obviously, I cannot reveal all of it, but maybe we can take over some smaller online shops. We already have many Transylvanian analysts analyzing the crypto market, doing bets. They're shorting Trump before elections. We make money. Take over smaller shops.
The last 20 years or something. What
exactly. The exponential growth is now.
Okay, so you're on the hockey stick curve. Okay.
We are, as a humanity.
And I
Vampirity.
Fair enough. I can recall a certain spat with a doggy litter run by a certain Jeff Bezos. Of course, again, details of that episode, as in the Dark Side documentary, will be in the show notes. So how did you cope with that run-in? Let's put it this way.
Well, that was the spat with the doggies, yeah?
Indeed.
Yeah, the werewolf, the primitive. shaggy senses. They took offense to our late night snack routines. And then my coven, we suffered some losses, and then thereof, Jeff tried to rebrand himself as a small bookseller. Ridiculous. Nearly ruined my expansion in North America.
Hey, I mean, you're talking about mid-90s, no? I mean, when he just founded the whole thing on Amazon, no?
Might be, might not be.
So what happened afterwards?
Well, we turned... I don't know if I should
Amazon
say
is a great
this.
distribution system for you, no?
Maybe that's why it's in my plans for the future.
Okay. You heard it here first.
You want to take over Amazon?
No. You just.
I never said that.
Become one of those.
You didn't hear it from me.
People heard it first. Jeff, if you're listening, you want to sell the shares right now. No, I'm joking, Vladessa. So what's going to be the future for Countess Vladessa going forward? If you can reveal that sort of thing.
World domination.
Martin, we're in the same boat.
We can't be on the same boat. There cannot be three world dominators.
As far as I know, we're not into the blood distribution business.
No, but we aim for world domination, if memory is correct, no?
Yeah, but that could be in many forms, right?
So you think there will be a spot for three world dominators?
No.
One in the wholesale blood business and two in the FLOSS world? Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
There can't be three world dominators.
No?
And I have fangs.
Is that a threat?
Yeah. We need to expand on these killing mechanisms for these vampires. Start a new business.
Vladessa, no. I mean, jokes aside, I think there is room for three world dominators on this planet. It's just basically a separation of markets, I suppose.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
competing with Vladessa many times.
Yeah, no, Martin, we are not competing with Vladessa because we are not in the wholesale blood business, right?
Indeed.
Okay. If we find a good consensus algorithm, let's make it work.
Speaking of which, what do you think about bringing AI into the mix in terms of optimizing your fulfillment workflow, never mind attacking Amazon, because Amazon spills a lot of money, as in pulls a lot of money actually into artificial intelligence. If you take a look at their website, they're doing that left, right, and center every day. Any thoughts on this going forward?
AI for blood freshness prediction, drone coffin delivery in under 30 minutes. Machine learning has never been so delicious.
That's amazing. Matt, what do you think?
We now run Skynet 2.5.
You run Skynet 2.5.
We're almost there. 2.4
already. Oh,
I didn't know that.
2.4. Okay.
I didn't know that Skynet 1.0 was already invented. But hey,
it's a very secret organization.
Maybe we have Terminators living amongst us already.
Indeed. Well, we have vampires living amongst us. So why not?
Yeah, but they have been doing this for the last couple of years. Never mind millennia or something. I mean, just take a look at this.
Just better hidden, right?
I mean. There's this guy in Washington, basically, with this blonde wig, right? He can walk in the daylight, but he wears some sort of funny skin, let's put it this way. There was a movie called Blade. I wouldn't call it documentary, but I wouldn't call it a movie, but rather documentary, because they essentially showed how it's done with regards to a special sunscreen that you wear, and then you can day walk. Being a vampire. And I reckon, how do you deal with that sort of competition, Vladessa? Because, and full disclosure here, if you take a look at something called, what's called Project 2025, right?
Maybe.
There's links maybe in the show notes. There's something called Project 2025 that goes back to the year 2023, interestingly, and where basically the path to Donald's world domination is pretty much laid out. And what we're seeing for the last 3 to 4 months is just the beginning, according to this project plan. So assuming he's one of your brethren. How do you plan to take this over?
Surely Vladessa can spill the beans whether he's
if she knows.
But why would I? If I want to take over, I have to have a strategy. General doesn't reveal its strategy, and countesses don't either.
He's one of your lieutenants, isn't he? That's what he is.
But remember, wholesale blood is the new oil.
Indeed.
Does that mean I can put my car on it as well?
People, you heard it first.
You can run your body on it.
Excellent.
Forget about Teslas. Forget about drill, baby drill. Blood
where do I order this stuff?
Oil, right?
Sounds good.
So going forward, what do you think would be the world consumption with regards to blood supplies, even if vampires haven't taken over by the year 2075? Just a kind of weird, random prediction now. Are we just talking about a couple of thousands of barrels, or are we talking about quadrillions of barrels once you/the vampires have taken over?
I don't know. It is going to depend a little bit. Are the humans going to have children or no? I don't know. Right now, they're a little bit lazy. So
you want to change that?
It's good for business.
I see. Martin, any thoughts on this?
Well, clearly with the growth, this continues to happen, no? The having of children, or have I missed something?
Well, if we have more children, we have more parents that are very, very tired. Guess what helps tired parents?
I see. The new
cocaine?
Very good.
No?
Maybe the fathers, the nursing mothers can't do it.
So they go to smack right away. Okay, fair enough.
So you want to take over the anti-conception business as well? Sabotage that.
I see.
Who said I haven't already?
It sounds like it's all going to plan, isn't it? Yeah, very good.
So far, so good. Can't complain.
Any thoughts about an initial public offering of the whole thing so that people actually can buy shares?
No. I don't share control with anyone else.
No. An IPO is not about sharing control. No. I mean, if you have the funding in place...
And the board.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have the cash in place, don't worry about it. I mean, it's just basically a cash injection, no? You retain a controlling stake.
And they have some crying babies saying, stock goes down and up. Crying babies.
Stake, of course, being a pun. But don't worry about it. Okay, no, I mean, jokes aside, if you swing this correctly, you can still retain control over your companies, because there's more than one, I reckon, after an initial public offering.
So you see, my friend, that's why we need you then. I need you in my world domination plan. If you know how to do this, you can be my, let me think, left arm.
Personal slave. Oh.
Peasant?
That's the right word.
It's Chris's future as a peasant. Can't wait. Martin, any thoughts on this? Because you will be running Inlaws
kind of curious to see what this world domination is trying to achieve, right? Because clearly you don't need any money. You got plenty of, let's say, like-minded people, right? So what are you trying to achieve with this world domination?
Not be bored, okay?
Okay.
Do you know how
general evil
boring it is to live for centuries and centuries?
I don't know. I've tried it.
Martin tries to avoid
on the subject. I guess, becoming a vampire would achieve that, wouldn't it? Oh, there you go. That's a good sales pitch, isn't it? You want to live forever, become a vampire. There you go.
Martin, you want to run this by the wife first, just in case. I'm just saying.
Anyway, that is a good subject. So how have you found this? Is this a good thing? Your many centuries of being around, or what's your personal opinion?
So far, it's been very interesting how the world is moving. The world has been very, very interesting to see. You know my secret? Do you want to hear a secret?
Oh, yes.
We always do, yes.
Yeah. The more the better, yeah.
I want to go on the moon or Mars and see how it is. And then come back.
You want to go to Mars?
You want to take a supply with you?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what has already been taken by a guy called Elon Musk, no? If I'm not completely mistaken.
He's another lieutenant, I guess.
Lunatic is more like it. But that's not personal choice of words for this.
Musk can do his thing, and I don't care, but I want to go to Mars to see it. Musk is just now, he's gonna die in a little bit.
You want to
continue.
You want to go to Mars just for a coffee or something? That's a long commute for a coffee, no? And I thought,
what a better thing should I do with my centuries?
You could, first of all, get the Nazis off the moon. And of course, that was a reference to a somewhat funny movie. Details, of course, within the show notes, no jokes aside. You could turn the world into a better place because the world needs that sort of thing right now. I
turn it to a better place, it goes to shit again. Then I turn it again to a better place, it goes to shit again.
Do I sense a little bit of a disappointment here, I wonder?
It's just how things are. That's how humans are. But they're fun. You're fun.
Never mind tasty, right?
Never dull moment, yeah. That's right.
Some of you.
Okay. I reckon that you turned into a vegan yourself with regards to if you run a vegan blood empire as a wholesale business, you probably do refrain from the consumption of human blood after all.
I did a little experiment for a few years, but it didn't do anything super special for my skin. It continued perfect, so I don't have any special need to be vegan.
So you're
and the taste is just never the same.
So you're selling the stuff, but don't drink it yourself?
Yes.
Are you serious?
I do drink it. I don't drink it exclusively.
It's an interesting subject. Do you have vintages that you keep in your cellar from different, or does it have to be fresh every time?
You're talking about the vegan stuff now or the real stuff, Mark?
No, the real stuff.
The real stuff. Okay, sorry.
The real stuff.
Does it mature with age? And what about the...
I thought it churned. No,
it doesn't mature. But we have, actually right now, we are working on a little experimental project with these artists. You know how artists are, always trying to invent something. So little hipster vampires do exist, yes, if you were curious.
Hipster vampires? Care to elaborate, Vladessa?
No one cares to listen about hipster vampires, so I'm not going to elaborate.
I know two people, Mark and myself. For sure.
They're the same. All the hipsters are the same. Humans, vampires are all the same, okay?
I mean, hang on. Hipsters normally have longer beards than normal humans, as in kind of average humans, no? Maybe I'm wrong. Martin
and little hats and short pants.
In full disclosure, Martin is the hipster between the two of us, so Martin probably knows. Martin, any comments on this?
No, just imagining the little hats, the short pants, and the long beards.
Pictures.
Sounds like a cartoon.
Links to pictures will not be in the show notes, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so they're interested in brewing. They're trying everything, and they wanted to try.
Do they now?
Blood. Okay, of course, that's what hipsters do. Brew beer. Vampire hipsters try to brew blood.
Is it catching on at all?
The only race
not yet.
The only race that comes to mind that has green blood are actually Vulcans. I believe in Vladessa. You don't want to interfere with them. Seriously, you don't.
Vulcans we respect.
Exactly. I mean, that's the only species that I know that basically does have green blood. If memory serves correct.
That's the only species we know of. Who knows who else we can discover? But it's all good. Why do we need green blood?
Stuff anyway, that sounds very bad. Yeah. May as well eat a
I
plant.
mean, green sounds vegan, no? Maybe I'm wrong.
We just put a little bit of spirulina. That's what the hipsters do.
So it's all a fake anyway. I see. Very good. So people, you heard it first. If you come across a vegan green blood, it may be a fake. You will please check with your suppliers before consuming it, hipster or not. Okay.
It's good for your vitamins, though.
So you gotta enter the supplement market as well. In addition to the wholesale blood thing, in terms of not just buy your blood supplies from.
It's all about nutrition, my friend. It's all about nutrition.
Excellent. Okay, so being an ordinary vampire, you should, of course, buy your vegan blood. By the way, what is the company called these days? I mean, it did change.
Wait, but first of all, it's not only vampires that drink this blood, huh?
I know.
No, not just hipsters, big people. Big important people. Yeah, big important people.
Okay. Don't they just replace the blood from someone else as well? Just to
I don't know what they do. They buy it.
Like that.
But they buy it.
Well, no, you got syringes for people who don't have teeth, right? You can use those as well.
Martin thinks about 30 years ahead regarding himself. So
who needs teeth when you have syringes?
Good. We need ideas like that. So you can also then be in my world domination group.
So exactly, why don't you join product management in that case? By the way, Vladessa, what is the shop called these days?
What is the shop called?
These days, yes. As your empire, as in wholesale vegan blood supplies. The last time I checked, you registered Vladessa's gig as a domain name, but that was about 500 years ago or something. So things may have changed.
Pre-internet.
So the domains back then were registered in a municipality office down by the creek.
I see. So what about today?
We call it bloody social.
Are you serious? Like Trump social, only bloody social. Okay. Wow.
Exactly.
So who was first? Was it Donald or was it you? I reckon it was
I don't even know about Donald. Who cares about Donald?
True. I mean, he's recent invention. So, I mean, he was born in the 50s, Martin, right? Maybe I'm wrong.
Does that mean he's named after Donald Duck?
No, I'm talking about Donald Trump now.
Yeah, no, his parents must have watched Donald Duck. I thought
I mean, Donald is a common surname is a common first name in the US, no?
I don't know.
I'm wrong.
Doesn't sound that common to me.
But I wouldn't call Trump common, but that's beside the point. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you came up with Bloody Social all those years ago. So Donald Trump, Donald, if you're listening, shame on you for ripping Vladessa off, by the way. So
you got the copyright.
So Donald just ripped you off or whatever for the network called Truth Social.
Oh, I don't know Truth Social.
You're better off that way anyway, believe me.
Should I send them a cease and desist?
You could try. Get the lawyers on the case. Why not?
Leave the little humans. He's gonna die soon anyway.
Are you sure he's human? I'm not.
He's old.
He's 78 or something.
Well, okay.
But I mean,
10, 20, 30 years, that's nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, he stopped aging when he was 40 or something. If current records are
interesting.
Yeah, indeed, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So have you done some research?
No, but that's why I have you. You can do some research for me.
Can I know?
Yes, you want to be a world domineer with me?
Let me send you my hourly rate.
No rate. If you want to be in my world domination group, you have to work, buddy.
I see. Martin, world domination apparently doesn't come cheap, does it?
It doesn't, no. But it might be a quicker route than the one we've been trying.
I can send you a few blood packages.
Okay, Vladessa, that has been more than just interesting. Needless to say, we must have you back on the show in about 200 years' time to get a status update with what has happened since we recorded this in 2025.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking about 2025, as in 200 years from now on. Apparently, we will be recruited as vampires very soon. That's what we just heard anyway. If we want to join Vladessa's team.
It solves all your aging problems, doesn't it, really?
Well, apparently yours too, Martin. But again, as you're married, Martin, you want to run this by the wife, right? Very important.
Hey, wait a minute. So if you're going to become a vampire, you want to do this when you're a bit younger, right? And then you don't get stuck with some...
No, you don't get stuck. You rejuvenate. It's a common myth.
Okay.
Any final thoughts, Vladessa, before we call it a day?
A night, surely.
Or whatever. well, for Vladessa, it's night is day, no? And vice versa.
Let's just say the future is algorithmic, undead, and blood red.
Nice.
And vegan, apparently.
Only for the peasants.
Vladessa, it has been a pleasure and more than just fun to have you on the show. We must have you back, as I said, maybe even before the 200th anniversary. So let's see what's going to happen. Maybe you are game to contribute to the dark side, just in case.
Maybe.
There may be a dark side episode with Vladessa contributing. You never know. So please stay tuned, people. And with that, back to the show. Martin, what do you make of it? That was beautiful, wasn't it?
As always,
exactly, yes.
Yeah, she's.
So we must have you back on the show.
Vampire lady,
yes.
Countess, whatever.
Absolutely. So stay tuned. There may be more of Vladessa before the year is over.
Much likely, yes. Much likely.
And with that, Martin, now it's time for the boxes.
Very likely. Boxes. Did we not do the boxes?
No, Martin.
Okay.
So what's your box then?
My box? Well, my box is Vladessa, I would say, since she deserves it.
Excellent.
She deserves a box for sure.
Okay. Certainly. Need to say there won't be any links in the show notes.
No.
Because you heard it first. Anyway, and my box is actually a TV series called Andor. Does that ring a bell? Andor. Yes. Does that ring a bell?
Star Wars?
Yes, very much so.
Star Wars
it started in the spring.
Okay.
And it's supposed to kind of finish in July, if I'm not completely mistaken. And for those people who missed the first season, the second season is, funny enough, the continuation of the first. But okay.
No, you say that. Sometimes they're completely different. Anyway,
it's probably time to pit the big picture. Andor is set...
is that the name of a planet, isn't it? I seem to remember.
No, maybe it's
the name
of the character. It's
a planet.
I don't know.
Well, I could be wrong.
Okay.
That's my
Kingsman with the show.
From previous Star Wars movies.
I mean, the idea is, of course, to depict the events prior to Luke blowing up the Death Star, and how the rebellion came about. The first season paints the picture of the main protagonist, who played a major role in the prequel to Episode 4, as in the New Hope.
Okay.
Season 2 is actually now how it all leads up.
It's the prequel. Yeah.
To some extent.
Okay.
To the shenanigans that went on later. Now, if you think this first season was bleak, you haven't seen the lights with regards to the second season.
Okay.
It's not your typical Star Wars franchise epic space opera or something.
Yeah,
it's rather down to earth and how it actually could have happened.
Why are they making series all the time these days instead of movies?
You want to ask who's behind this? Disney Plus? No, Disney Plus just streams it, right? So I don't know.
No, Disney owns the franchise.
Yeah, it's now exactly. It used to be Lucas something, Pictures or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, no, Disney owns owns the whole thing. You want to ask Disney actually? So I don't know. But to me, the whole thing looks like the Ukraine on a good day.
Oh dear.
Exactly.
Well, I'm sure Ukraine is a beautiful country, but probably couldn't pass.
But it used to be anyway.
Yeah.
No, jokes aside. You see, I reckon the correct phrase to use is actually, you have to cross a valley before you get to the next peak, as in episode 4. And this, and season 1 and season 2 exactly describe that valley.
I see.
As in how you actually put together a rebellion that is then able to overthrow the empire.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's
at least that would
a
be
bit
my
of work involved in that.
investigation. Exactly.
Okay.
And with that,
Indeed.
thank you for listening. This is the Linux In-Laws.
You come for the knowledge,
but stay for the madness.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you like this feature presentation. If so, please spread the word. If not, please let us know. Feedback at linuxinlaws.eu.
Let me think.
You call it blood social, no?
Blood is social? Bloody, no, we call it, okay.
No, you call it bloody social.
Bloody social.
I'm just coming up with names.